Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lim Yao Li. I was leading the team of the planning people engaged by the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, then back in 2005, to carry out the New Village Master Plan for the entire Peninsular Malaysia. That program covered a total of 450 new villages. Then we formed two teams to execute the preparation of this master plan. Of course, our task was to do a socio-economic survey and do a windscreen physical survey and come up with some findings of our survey. Then eventually we formulated the program to be carried out or implemented by the Ministry of Housing, together with the request for some funding, which cover the development aspect as well as the management aspect of this 450 villages. So this part of the, I think I will skip it because I think Dr. Fong, together with Dr. Loh, have already covered it. The objective of the New Village Master Plan study is to enable PKPT to integrate new villages physically, economically, and politically with the mainstream of the nation. I think this is very practical and noble. Number two is to conserve special features of the new villages in terms of potential places of interest and tourist attraction. And lastly, to recommend development of new villages with sensitivity and attraction for future developments. The new villages can be classified into three main categories. With our study, we managed to go through all the villages, study the features, the problem they face, and the type of lifestyle that is being carried out in the villages. And we found that there are three main categories. Category A are villages that are self-sustaining, meaning they are able to sustain themselves. They are good enough to carry on themselves. Category B villages are villages which need more guidance and assistance. Those need to be pop up. Category C villages are villages that are lacking infrastructure and social facilities. So these are the three main categories of new villages that we have found. And the number of them is category A covers 121 villages, B covered 245 villages, and category C covered 94 villages. This gives a total of 450 villages. In terms of percentage, category B cover more than half. So in short, my interpretation is that these villages are very okay. More than half, either they're very good or they need a little bit of popping up. And only the category C, about 19%, which require governmental assistance. In terms of policies and strategies, the KPKT has got two-pronged policy. One is long-term, that is to integrate new villages into national, economic, and political fabric. Number two is short-term, which is to upgrade the physical facilities in the villages. I think with these two prongs of policies approach, the new villages can be savaged, can be propped up, can be sustained, and possibly can even be turned into new economic nodes, like what China have done to the rural villages. And within, I think, approximately 30 years, end of this year, they're going to lift up 600 million people out of poverty. And the approaches will be not much different from what we have to do and can be done here. I tend to cover the areas that we have surveyed, which include like physical planning, agricultural sector, economic activities, and whatnot, very briefly, so that you can see for yourself what are the problems they are facing. and what are the strategies and program development that we have proposed. Okay, the first one is physical planning. The residential houses have been used for commercial or light industrial premise, and such unconverted land use are generally illegal. They have not gone through a process of application. Thirdly, local authorities are facing problems with this illegal land uses. Of course, our recommendation is new villages that were developed before Uniform Building Bylaw was enforced in 1984. In practice, they have to conform to the new building bylaw. But then if exemption can be given to them for those houses that have been built, they should be given the exemption. Then we are also seeking to assistance from authorities to allow flexibility in this aspect of dealing with these people who have violated the UBBL. Then, in addition, we also want to identify new villages worthy of conservation and special treatment and initiate program to conserve these new villages. Social issue, the second area of concern. One is social issue that involve drug taking, but this issue is not widespreading. I think it's confined to mainly the East Coast new villages, where there's some mixture of Malay population. So generally, I think on the West Coast, the new villages are well under control. Next. Then second, the issue pertaining to social development is the aging population. A high percentage of something like 76% of the new village population made up of people who are fairly elderly. So this results in migration of the youngsters, and therefore there's a lack of social, cultural, and health facility for the elderly. Because we never planned for this elderly who are staying back. If you were to go to some of the villages, I went with Tan Sri and Dato Fong to Pontian, his constituency. We found a lot of elderly retired fellows who were hanging around us under a big tree, chatting away, some playing chess. So not very much productive activities they're involved in. So our recommendation is to plan and develop appropriate social infrastructure and services for this aging population, even though they are not politically or economically active, but we must cater for their needs. Like in the urban area, you have old folks home, you have a club for them to go, but this new villages, we don't have that facility. I think those facilities need to be provided to them so that they are occupied actively and productively. And then second part of this social issue involves lack of village leadership. So our recommendation is to initiate and institute village leadership training program. Because we go to new villages, some development committees, these are made of people who are quite layman type. So there's no exposure to management. So we need to initiate program to train them so that they can lead the rest of the villages. And any development program that is initiated can be executed effectively. Then third area we have covered is economic base. This is to me quite encouraging. I think as compared to Dr. Fong's illustration and Dr. Loh, villages are quite productive economic centers. In 35 new villages, the leading economic activities are industry activities. And most industry activities are cottage industry using family members and laborers. And some are SME engaged in food processing and in textile and even in garment manufacturing. So they have a sort of set up a fabric and a system of SME within these new villages. And this has to be further sustained. In fact, the central government, especially the state government, must come in to pop up the operation of this SME. So to provide support for the cottage industry, and where there is an increasing demand for such industry, a mini industrial estate should be set up. I remember in the late 70s, They will attempt to set up some of the villages with small industrial areas. And some have succeeded, some have failed. So this must be continued so that the SME has got the proper base to operate, where they can get power supply, they can get workers, and they can export the produce. Then number two, pertaining to skill development, it's essential that information about various skill development and upgrading should be extended to new villages. And this, you have to do it by facilitating skill development and upgrading for all the new villages. Because they're not trained. If you have trained them, you impart some knowledge to them, then they can manage their enterprises more effectively and become more productive. Then thirdly is the one village, one product. I think this is very well known, and the university accepted the program towards the rural eradication. So we want to do that in Malaysia. In relation to the new villages, I've been to almost all the 150 villages. You discover some of the villages produce very good food and product. You go to Yom Peng, you can sample very good fish ball. You go to it's the Ipoh side. Those villages, they are very good in making chili paste, or shrimps, or this what called the sambal. So all these products are marketable, not locally, not only locally, but internationally. They can be sold to China, a big market, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Singapore. So if we can guide them properly, and this small industrial operation can become very vibrant enterprises in the future. Then the fourth area that we covered is agriculture. Of course, we always relate new villages to agriculture production. New villages have become best agriculture producer in the country for product, and surprisingly, such as Sikinchang. You see, paddy production is the highest yield, highest in the country. So you see product like chicken, eggs, fruit, vegetable, flowers, pork, tiger prawns, ornamental fish, and rice being produced in this center. And if you talk of ornamental fish, you go to Coldstream, and they produce the most expensive, most beautiful ornamental fish that can be exported. In fact, in my current practices, I'm a planner to some of the big corporations that got agricultural land. So I advise them to develop this industry, like Kedah, Baling, a nice stream, set up these centers. Then you can produce a lot of farmers, so you can guide a lot of farmers to culture this ornamental fish. And there's a big market overseas. You go to those who are interested in fish, you go to the present or fish shop, you can buy the fighting fish, exploring it to eco, cheap. So this is an area where we can you can induce or guide the local farmers into venturing into this area. Back to agriculture again. We like to encourage new villages to produce quality product using technology. In the past, they are very labor-intensive farming. They will till themselves. But now we want them to go into horticulture, aquaculture, things that uses a lot of technology, and that will increase the productivity and give them a good return. It's evident now today. You go to Highland, like Cameron Highland, you go to Baling, you go to Johor, Kementah, they produce good durian. They go to Bentong. So durian is one of the best known durian in the world. So all this product that we are producing now achieve a level of quality taste that it can be exported to international market. Again, on agriculture, providing additional agricultural land for farming is very essential. I think Professor Loh has mentioned about this. And one of the things that's holding back the farmers from the new villages expand on the agriculture operation is the lack of land. I believe you all are aware, gentlemen, about the durian farm near Bentong recently. They've cultivated, though illegally, for many years. Some have reached 7 years, almost time to bear fruit, and it's taken back by the state. So I feel legally the government has done the right thing. But morally and socially, I think wrong. People have tilled the soil. They cultivated the farm. I think there's some form of compromise might be struck so that they can continue to use the land with some compensation or penalty that they pay to the state, so that they can be granted some form of lease, and so that the production, the cultivation, the effort are not wasted. And of course, we are recommending here those who have the capacity to expand their farming activity are in need of additional land, and the land that are available owned by the state, like ex-mining land, farm, this pit swamps, land, paddy for paddy and oil palm, and even those land at the fringe of new villages which are not used by the state, I think should be alienated. I've spoken to Tan Sri Ongkating one. I say you should help to get the state to give some security through leases of this land back to the farmers so that they can invest. Otherwise, they can't invest. They don't have a source of money to invest. They go to the bank and say, "Apa security you ada? You got the illegal land, LTOL." So if they show leases, then the state or the institution, the financial institution, can consider giving you a loan to expand on your agriculture production. Again, on agriculture, legalizing land tenure and the presently cultivated land for purpose agriculture only, I think should be encouraged. Then the proposed state government. Then we mentioned about increasing those lease that are near expiry should be extended so that they can continue with the agriculture production. And next aspect that we want to bring it up is facilitating agriculture extension services to be provided to farmers. And the new villages farmers, they're reluctant to approach the government agency, either due to lack of ability to communicate with these officers. And I think we suggest or propose in our master plan that the extension services must instituted specifically for these new villages so that the services can reach them and be used by them to expand on their operation. So I'm rushing for time. Lastly, ensuring the farmers are knowledgeable, exposed to availability and sources of agriculture. I think this has to be done in order to encourage them so that their operation can be continued. Next. Tenure problem, I think resolved. You extend their lease, changing the lease from TOL to minimum of 16 years because that's acceptable by the financial institution. Of course, we don't expect a freehold title for them. Next. Then social facility, mainly lack of services and sporting facilities. This been easily tackled. The state government will have help the central government agency fund provided. I think they can provide all this. There are still ample land within the new villages that can be used to cater for providing these services and facilities. Infrastructure and utilities. I think Dr. Fong has mentioned quite a fair bit. Of course, there is still lacking through our study. We know what is lacking, what is the adequate. Just the lacking, then we must provide the road resurface. You have to have proper water supply. And I think electricity have reached most of the villages. Even internet services, 90% available in these villages. So those who are still lacking, they must be made up. Should be strengthened further so that the villages are not lack of social services. Drainage and flooding, this common problem. Again, I think this is not insoluble because now I'm engaged in the river basin study instituted by JPS, the central agency. So if this can be extended to area that's near the new villages and the new villages, removing the flood problem or mitigating the flood problem can be resolved. In other words, you just divert some of the water, the village water into the bigger stream. Lastly is the landscaping. Of course, when you already financially quite stable, you want the living environment to be nicer, failing, and so that you can live comfortably. This requires landscaping, which the local authority, the state government should put in the effort and do something about it. Plant trees, create a small open space so that flowers, people can go and rest, the children can go and play. Next. I want to touch a little bit on administration, which I think Dr. Fong had mentioned. The new villages, what is required is JKK lack a regular operated budget for the day-to-day administration. So we must call on the state government or the local authority to aid them. I'll come to the last bit where I show the amount of money required for both the development and the daily day-to-day operation is not very much. So you can see if the state can come to help, the central government, so Ministry of Housing come to help, this problem can be resolved. Then before I go, then there is the problem of boundary. A lot of villages don't have definite boundary. Then there can be a problem. Sometimes you infringe into private land. So this has to be resolved with the help between the local authority and the soil department. Have a proper boundary drawn up so that the administrator of the new villages know where is the limit of the village. This is what I'm trying to tell. The total expenditure needed for the 15-year period for the entire master plan requirement in terms of development purposes is 521 million. In terms of operational cost is 244. You add it up, it came to about 766 million for 15 years, not much. It's about, I think, 33 million per year. So which is the figure that can be handled and absorbed or paid by both the central and the state government, right? Lastly, I want to show you two models of new villages planning for the future. In other words, now what we are doing is to plan for Chinese new villages, Malay kampung, Indian estate settlement. Can we do something that integrate them together? So I have come up with two models. Model one. And this is the future new village plan for Malaysia. Malaysia talking about West Malaysia. So you have a central park, central facilities like football, community hall, police station, sports center, and blah, blah, blah. This can accommodate or cater for Malay villages on the right, Chinese villages on the northeast, and the Indian village at the southwest. So you put them together, there will be integration. The kid can come play at town park. They can go to the computer center. They go to the library, read book together. There will be integration. This is what we intend to do. Okay. Then the other model is on the existing village that, for example, Sungai Way is mainly occupied by Chinese. Then now the state government have put in the Malay population in one corner. Then my suggestion, put in on the balanced empty land some Indian community. So the rural center there is made out of 3 racial groups. So this is model 1 and model 2, right? These are the layout then we prepared. So with that, I think I want to end and pass it on to Dato' to continue.